Welcome to the Marvellous Pencyclopedia. I'm Matthew Wright. I've been doing magic for over 30 years. I do complicated sleight of hand, manipulations, mind reading, and the one thing that gets the biggest reaction of all is when I take a Sharpie pen, put it up the nose and out the mouth. It always gets a great reaction. And that got me thinking, perhaps the Sharpie pen, which magicians carry with them all the time, we need to find out more moves with it. So that's what I've done. I've searched the world for the best Sharpie magician, and I think I've found him. I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Tom Crosbie. So here we are with Mr. Tom Crosbie.
Yo.
Thanks for coming in, Tom. And thanks for helping out with the DVD. Oh. It's been a project that I've had on my mind for a good few years now. As I said in the introduction, the Sharpie up nose that I do always gets the strongest reaction. And I thought it'd be a great idea to take a Sharpie and show the guys everything that can be done, all the moves and all the magic that can be done with something that a magician carries around with him every day.
Completely.
And I know that you've been playing with this sort of thing since you was a young kid, and I could think of no one better to get in and share it with us.
You charmer, you.
I try my best, Tom. What I do want to say is, first of all, most of the things comes from one move, really.
Yeah, the flip stick.
The flip stick, invented by
Flip Halima, yeah.
Flip Halima.
Published in Tarbell originally, I think.
Really, was it? He's a great Dutch magician.
Yeah.
And everything really comes from a variation of his move. If you just want to talk about the move for a second.
Well, the original flip stick move, it flips stick, was done with a drumstick. Okay. So it was quite a bit longer than a pen. So because of that, the fingers were moved quite a bit further down, so it would be done something like that. So your hand would end up in quite an uncomfortable position.
Right.
So modernising it, doing it with a pen, the simplest variation is just to move all your fingers up to one end.
So you're holding it right at the older.
Right at the tips.
That's the main variation from.
That's the real variation. I mean, it's still flip stick. It's still the same technique. Just this way, it happens a hell of a lot quicker than it would do with the original. So yeah, and then it's gone.
Brilliant.
Magic.
So that's the flip stick vanish, and you use the same move in reverse to make it appear.
Yep. So there's the vanish, and to make it reappear, it's just a matter of getting your middle finger behind it, kicking it back out again.
Right, so you're kicking it back out with your middle. You're not using the index to.
A lot of people, a lot of people do that, and I do use that for certain variations of the move. But for the most part, I find it so much easier to get your middle finger behind it.
Yeah,
and kick it out. Okay. Just because if you're holding it there, this finger is much more noticeable. Well, all of that finger has to move to pull it back.
Yeah.
So you see from the front,
your fingers kick out a lot. There's a lot more movement by.
So you get that knuckle has to bend, and that's the one really on display from the audience point of view. Whereas by using your middle finger,
with the middle finger, brilliant.
Yeah, it kicks out there. So you're extending it, but that's not the main focus. Hopefully, the main focus is on the top finger and the pen.
Cool. I noticed you're wearing a ring there as well. Does that interfere with anything at all?
It can do with coin magic, but not so much with pens, because you're rarely holding a pen that closely to your base of your middle finger. But no, not really a problem.
So when you're making the things appear, do you have a technique? I mean, I know that a lot of people coin manipulators and things like to grab and then pull back with the fingers as though they're pulling it from the air. Other people choose to and make it appear at the fingertips.
Sure.
What are your techniques on that?
Well, at least for sort of a mid-air production. Yeah. I think it's important to be able to sort of imagine and see the object. So if you imagine where it is, and
so you see it first, reach out and grab it. Are you pulling back with that, or just making it appear?
I suppose I am pulling back a little bit, but it's mostly the inertia of moving your arm then stopping suddenly helps the pen.
So that's how it snaps into view.
So you get almost a snap production.
Okay.
It's like hitting the perfect golf swing. Sometimes just one in every 100 times you might get it just spot on, but it always looks great, I think.
And I noticed that you're spreading the fingers out when it appears, so it's right at the fingertips there.
So it really does seem like nothing else in the hand. So hopefully they'll remember that there was nothing in your hand beforehand.
Yeah, absolutely. Using a little bit of psychology as a convincer that your hands are clear.
But yeah, so there's not a huge amount of technique to it really, but with the quick movement and then production, the speed really does help you produce the pen.
So you see the pen in mid-air, reach out, grab it, and that flip just makes it.
So yeah, I imagine it somewhere around there, reach out, grab, and it's there. And that's the pen. And you're into your favourite routine.
Cool. So when you're going for the vanish, do you prefer to have the top vanish, because I mean that's quite a bright top that's going to flick it out of view, so do people follow that, or do you prefer to have it vanish from this end? Which side do you like to vanish?
You see, I favour my left hand. I'm left-handed, so that's something to bear in mind. But so yeah, I do most of the flipstick with my left hand. It's important to be able to do it with both hands, but I favour my left, to be honest. I also do a lot of sleeving in this hand, which is why I like to have the clip at this end.
Okay.
Because then you're in perfect position to sleeve, and the clip's pointing away from you. If you do it this way, I'm sure you can see there's always a risk that it'll get caught on the sleeve. I know a lot of magicians that cut the clips off to do sleeving regardless of direction, but
if you're flicking it in this way, then it's almost tapered to feed directly in.
Designed to be
so
sleeved.
you like it to come in this way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, it's all personal preference, but yeah, like you say, it almost does look like it's designed to be sleeved that way.
Yeah.
And I have considered cutting the clip off, but to be honest, I use it for far too many.
Well, it never gets snagged on anything, does it? If you're doing it that way.
Pointing it the right way, no, it's never a problem. But yeah, I think it's one of those things that it's up to you. But I personally, if you're not into sleeving, then 6 and 2 3s, do it whichever way you fancy.
You said there that you practice the moves in both hands. So you do it left-handed and right-handed. Do you think that's important?
I think it can be. Certainly if I'm just doing the flip stick. So let's say I'm sat down, everyone's on my left. I'm covered because, people sat on that side see an empty hand.
Yeah.
Whereas if everyone sat on that side, then people will... So
learning in both hands gives you a lot more freedom
to manage your audience at least. So
because it is it's an angly move.
It can be. I mean, to be
honest,
have
you got any tips for covering the angles?
Yeah, I mean, well, for one, bringing it closer to yourself. If you do the flip stick around here, and your hands are kind of facing this way rather than being straight out.
Okay.
So I mean, if you're doing it at arm's length, then it's great. It's great for maybe the camera, but
all these people here can see it.
Whereas
if you bring it into the body,
I'd normally do it so my hands are around here.
Yeah.
And that way, I mean, you've got the whole viewing angle up to about
pretty much from.
Yeah.
You've got 1180 degrees almost,
at least,
haven't you? Yeah. Well, plus
whoever's behind you, but they don't really see much of a trick, to be honest.
No, that's true.
But yeah, for the most part, it's not that angle sensitive a move. There are a few angle sensitive pieces that we've got on the DVD, but for the most part, it's very usable stuff. Not too much to worry about at all.
And a lot of that comes from being able to do it, but two-handed.
Being able to do it two-handed. Like I say, it's not essential, but for a few of the displays, being able to show both hands as empty, it can be an advantage to use both hands.
Now, as you said, you're left-handed, but if you're learning both hands, it doesn't really make much difference what's taught on the DVD.
Entirely up to you. Although that being said, I am still better at doing it with my left hand, but that's because I do it more, so I'm sure it's always the case.
So on a lot of vanishes, I know that you're building up some tension against one hand and playing it off the other. Can you just run through?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is really what gets the speed up, and I don't think Flip really talked about it too much in the original write-up.
Okay.
But it really does make all the difference to get the speed. You know what, to break it down, because the modified handling is very important, I think. First of all, holding it between the first two fingers acting as a pivot point. So all the work happens between these two fingers, and the pen comes back here. The middle finger is acting as the pressure, so that pulls it back. And these fingers over here are acting as the resistance. Okay. So I'm effectively trying to snap the pen in this position. That's what it feels like.
You're trying to snap it with your middle finger.
Yeah. So pulling back, these fingers are.
And then it just slips out of these fingers.
Yeah. So you're building up the pressure until eventually you release with these fingers, and it just snaps away.
And that sound that it makes, is that built into the routines, or does that add to the magic, or do you try and stop that?
Well, I don't try and stop it. I think, to be honest, for me it's a sound that I've done the move really quickly. Because that sound is the sound of the pen hitting against the base of my hand. Yeah. People seem to think it's the clip.
But it sounds like a little magical...
Yeah, almost like you're snapping your fingers to make it vanish, which...
Yeah, I think it makes it a magic moment.
Yeah, but like I say, that just comes from the speed. So, but really, the speed comes from the pressure building up here, pulling it back, and these fingers here not letting go until you've built up a hell of a lot of pressure over here. And yeah, eventually just letting it go and snap. The real trick, I suppose, is trying to keep both hands looking as similar as possible. It's not essential, but I mean, if one hand's in this position, the other one's quite.
So you want your starting position and ending position to be
as
the
similar
same
as you can,
and the same on both sides.
Yeah, 100%. So another thing that's often overlooked when it comes to the flip stick is I see so many people do it and they kill the wrists in.
Okay.
I think it's because it's kind of a magician's guilt.
A little guilty thing.
Yeah, trying to hide the pen more than it actually needs to be hidden. When really, none of the wrist does none of the work. All the work happens at the fingertips.
Okay.
It's one of those moves that obviously does need to be done really quickly to look good, but it also really does happen, right at the fingers. So a really good technique for practicing it is to keep your wrist kind of locked on the table.
Okay.
Just to stop yourself from moving it at all. Just because you see, and it does happen, and I guarantee you'll do it once or twice and do that to try and hide the pen.
Try and hide the pen.
And it really doesn't need it, and all it does is add suspicion to the hand that's holding the pen.
So you're doing this vanish, and it looks great, but it doesn't take the audience a long time to start thinking what's inside
Where
his
could
hand.
it be?
So do you have misdirection techniques to distract from that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that on its own is an ideal vanish, unless you clean up from it. So, I mean, we discuss holdouts and sleeving and lapping and all sorts of bits and pieces, but one great little technique, the first person I saw do it was Nick Einhorn, but I don't know whose it was originally, is the flip stick and then showing the inside of your jacket, just to show it's not inside a pocket or something like that. Not that would prove that it wasn't. And then from there, he'd often ditch it in the pocket there, but, I mean, there are plenty of different techniques. I think the trick is going straight into it, going straight into your next next move, your next piece.
Unless, of course, it's going to stay vanished.
Unless it's going to stay vanished.
Which is where the sleeve
in which case, you need to find somewhere to put it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, if it's going to stay vanished, you need to put it somewhere and leave it there. If you're going to do any kind of pen routine, having something else as well to disguise any moves. Like I use a coin quite a lot, so pen and coin routines. Because then the coin is proving nothing more than a distraction away from the pen.
Yeah.
So you can get away with a lot more by misdirecting using the coin, and likewise using the pen to misdirect from the coin. So
and using the pen and the coin in the same hand, like a magic wand and things. If you're holding one thing, you can't be holding another.
Very much so. Yeah, so it's a nice little convincer. Yeah, like in the cups and balls, holding something to say this is my empty hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So have you ever thought about changing the moment of the magic? I mean, a lot of the teaching techniques that we've done, it's just a straight switch where you've got one pen and it switches for the other. Other techniques where it happen, you do a switch and blow to make it happen, or click to make it happen. Just put in a little bit of time misdirection in, rather than from changing from one hand to other, and that's when the change happens. A little bit of a blow, and maybe that can improve the magic.
Yeah, very much so. I think any kind of magical gesture really does add to the effect, assuming it's timed right at least, But yeah, I think changing the moment of magic is incredibly fooling when it comes down to it. Even if it is just a snap of the fingers, and taking it, and that's when the vanish happens, rather than having I think sometimes that's more powerful than a visual vanish.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I know you use like the misdirection change and stuff that you use is incredibly strong for changing the moment, or at least disguising the moment.
Yeah.
Because you look in 1 second and then it's just gone and it's changed.
I'm a huge fan of the misdirection type of material, and I think it can be really, really quite deceptive. Especially, well, at least in that example, sleeving at the moment when people really aren't expecting it, when it looks like you're just searching through your pockets to try and find something, and they look back and it's gone.
And again, for the art vanish with the toss, it's incredible.
Some lovely moments, and even from magicians, it gets gasps. People really do kind of, whoa, what was that? And it's a lovely moment.
Okay, so I know you've worked a lot on sleeving and different holdout techniques with the waistcoat, with short sleeves, with no sleeves. Let's just have a little chat about those, and we'll need to stand. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the sleeving, because I know you do something that's quite unique, I think.
Yeah, well, I've certainly not seen it around before. It's basically once the pen's been sleeved, you can drop your arm.
Right, and it's not dropping out.
No, it won't come out till you want it. So if I wanted it now, it will pop straight out.
Okay, do you want to tell us how that's happening?
Well, it's a combination of techniques depending on how it ends up.
Okay.
So first of all, I've got quite a powerful flip. Once you've done the flip stick move itself, you end up in that position.
Okay.
So it's important to see there the first finger's pointing straight out.
Yeah.
And the middle finger's the one holding it in place.
Brace, yeah.
So really it's just kind of ready to shake it.
Okay.
And it won't move anywhere. Now, to sleeve it from here, you're pointing the pen directly into the sleeve. The first finger's going to build up pressure on the end of the pen, like we did with the flip stick.
Yeah.
Building up the pressure, but the middle finger's now the one holding it in place.
Yeah.
So it won't go until middle finger lets go.
Right.
So again, building up.
You're shooting it right in there.
Shooting right up there. Now there, it got to my elbow. And it's right there at the moment.
I can feel it, it's here.
So it actually went round the corner a little bit.
It's gone up and round.
So it's...
So you're shooting that a good foot and a half.
Yeah, thereabouts. So it'll stay there. And as long as I keep my elbow bent, it'll stay,
Yeah, obviously.
Not that that's a natural way to, move around, but that it will stay there. So for then, I drop my arm down. Now, this sounds ridiculously obvious, but make sure your fingers go over the edge of your sleeve to catch it.
You've got to be there to catch.
Yeah, because there's no guarantee that it will always land, in a certain... It will always land at the bottom of the sleeve, but it might bounce around to it. So, yeah. Make sure your fingers are over the edge of the sleeve.
So that's dropping down as soon as you straighten your arm?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if you are holding the pen down there, sometimes you want to show your hand empty, straight away in routines. So if I'm holding out a pen, I want to come up and show my hands as being clear.
So now you're sleeving...
Down here that I've just caught. If I flick it up my sleeve, it's now, I don't know if you can feel, around the back of my...
That's right up here.
There you go.
That's... Put your turn around for just 1 second.
There you go.
We're right up near his shoulder now. So you flicked it all the way up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So now...
And it's still not dropping down?
No, because it's past my elbow now. It's well up there.
Okay.
So now, what I'm doing is, I'll turn sideways so you can get more of an idea. I'm bringing my arm slightly back, so my elbow's back behind my body.
Okay, so yeah.
And now I'm lowering my elbow, lowering the rest of my elbow.
Right, and the pen's staying here.
It's staying up there because the weight of the jacket. Because now the sleeve is hanging forwards.
Because
so
your arm's coming back a little,
so the weight of the sleeve
holding this in position here.
Yeah, so it really is keeping it there. So if I wanted it back, I just move my arm forward a bit, and it drops straight to the fingertips.
You can actually see your jacket releasing. If you move your hand back, it holds on.
There we go. So it's right back up by my shoulder now.
It's right back here.
Right up there. Now
as soon as you move your arm
it feels a little bit unnatural to do, but I don't think it looks too bad.
No, it's fine.
I wouldn't want to walk around like this all day, but...
Well, no one's thinking you've got anything up your sleeve because it'll fall out.
Yeah.
So the problem I have with sleeving, and I know a lot of people think the same thing, whenever you vanish something, whether you're sleeving it or not, people have heard of, it goes up your sleeve. It's like a rabbit out of the hat thing. Everyone knows about going up the sleeve. So how do you work around that?
Well, to be honest, it's really simple, and it doesn't seem like it'd be enough to put people off saying it's up your sleeve, but it really is. So if we take the pen, make it vanish, roll the sleeves up just like that.
Sleeve.
And as far as they're concerned, there's nothing up your sleeve. And that's instantly they're not interested, which is great. And of course, there's no real trick to it. I mean, if you're flicking it far enough up your sleeve in the first place, I mean that's up there.
So all you need to do is do you need to fire it past?
No, not at all. I mean, I do because I can, and it's easier. But to be honest,
let's say you just got it here.
Yes. So let's say it's there.
Yep.
So everyone I would say can get it that far up the sleeve.
No problem.
So really simple. You bring your hand over and you roll your sleeve up that way. So you're pinching the bottom of the sleeve, pushing it up. So you're just pushing it further up your sleeve.
Perfect.
And it just stays up there. And it's as simple as that.
Problem solved. So I know you use sleeving, Tom, but I know you've got a few thoughts on it as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to share those with us?
Well, I mean, there isn't a huge amount to it. I think it's easier than a lot of people put it down to. I think anyone can do sleeving, and anyone can get it really quite far up, as far as you want. But it is important to bear in mind it's not the only method. There are other methods out there. So I think using other types of holdouts, stitching it in the pocket, inside between the buttons, anything. Just because as soon as there are ways to get around it, like we discussed, but as soon as you start using nothing but sleeving, people will will start sizing it out.
So use it, but use it sparingly.
Yeah, all things in moderation.
Now there are some cool street magicians around. Tell me you want to be doing this.
You know it.
You are down with the kids, I can tell that.
I don't think I'm one of them. But
what was it, Magic Geeks?
Geeks, yeah. Let's not go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're wearing a hoodie or you're wearing a shirt or something that isn't a jacket where you have slightly tighter sleeves, you can still do the techniques.
You know what? I think that having a hoodie like this is one of the best ways to stop people thinking it's up your sleeve. Because it's, as far as they're concerned, it's quite a tight sleeve. So I mean, Johann Stahl has a great DVD out, sleeveless sleeving, and he has some great techniques for putting people off the thought of it being up your sleeve. But I mean, we won't go into that. That's Johann's. But a great little technique to put people off with this using a hoodie. Now, you can always stretch the sleeves on a hoodie really easily, and they'll always go back in a few minutes. But just sort of wind your fingers around them, and it'll stretch it out just enough to be able to sleeve, as you normally would. You can't get it as far just because of the material on the inside. It's not as smooth. But plain and simple, tuck your sleeves back on both sides, and then just brush it back against yourself. Just let it fall against yourself. So then straight on with the vanish, and you're away. And it's just like it's fallen down. You didn't mean it to, and if you didn't mean it to, you couldn't have expected it to happen. So
great tip. Cheers, Tom.
No worries.
So before we go, we're just going to say a few thank yous. I know that you've worked very hard on this, Tom. You've been doing Sharpie Magic for a lot of years, but it's been inspired by a lot of other people. You're standing on the shoulders of giants.
Of course, as are we all, I think.
Absolutely. And if you want to say thank yous?
Certainly. Well, I mean, a lot of the material, the originator of pen and coin magic on a whole is Rune Clan, Danish magician. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you to Rune for allowing us to publish a lot of his stuff on this DVD. Same goes to Rick Merrill, FISM world champion.
Well, he won FISM.
He won FISM, with this material, which he's kindly let us use. Johann Stahl as well has done very well at FISM with the same sleeve material.
Second.
Yeah,
along with me.
We
really? Tied for second at FISM, yeah. So thank you, Johann.
Nearly first. There's always next time. Also to Garrett Thomas, Francis Minotti, as well as James Brown, Yannick Chrétien, Greg Wilson, of course.
Greg Wilson, fantastic Sharpie magician.
A chap called Yannick Chrétien from France, who is amazing, and he's hugely underrated. And of course, Flip Halima.
The man who started it all, really.
Thank him very much for his permission to include his work on the flip stick and for creating the move in the first place, I think. So.
Thank you very much, guys. We owe you a big, 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 big thank you.
Thanks.
So as a little bonus, this is Sharpen Up. This is the Sharpie routine that I always use when I'm doing walk around magic. We start by getting them to write the name with the pen. I borrow it, pop the top back on, stick it up the nose. That always gets a great reaction. They always ask to see it again. So this time I do it in slow motion. So the explanation for this, we need 2 pens. We need a regular Sharpie pen and the Sharpen Up Sharpie gimmick. They sit in the pocket. The technique for the Sharpie up nose is very simple. You hold the Sharpie between the thumb and the index and middle finger, and the hand just rolls up, just slides straight up the pen. The thumb clips the pen, and the middle finger hides the pen behind it. You bring the hand down, transfer the tip of the pen to the mouth, and extend the fingers down. This can come out of the mouth or out of the ear. Once you've got your reaction, you just pretend to put the pen away. Someone say, do it again, or you say, I'll show you again. Now you take the gimmick out. They can see the pen cap coming out. You now rotate, and it looks like you're just holding the pen by the cap. Push it into the nose, and now you just stand up as you sniff, twist the pen halfway, which shows the pen halfway up the nose, and the hand continues up. Again, clips the pen, comes down. The left hand comes up now to show the palm empty. That's perfect misdirection to now dump this into a body topper, a TKO or similar, pop it into the trouser pocket, sleeve it, whichever way you want to vanish the pen, and then the right hand comes up and shows the nostril and shows the hands clean. So this is the gimmick itself. It's the base of a Sharpie with the cap half cut off, and then on the other side we've sanded off the printed logo so that it looks, you've got writing at the same distance away from the edge of the cap. So all you have to do is this sits in the pocket. As you remove it, it looks like you're removing a full pen. You can now rotate this so that the fingers just give a little flash of pen cap. And all you do, as you push it up the nose, you just rotate the whole thing at 180 degrees. And then the hand continues to rise up, pulls it out, and you make it vanish.